Welcome to Creativity Talks with me, Hazriq Idrus, founder of the Speaking Factory, keynote speaker for creative leadership and communications. People have this misconception that creativity is only meant for the arts. So in these Creativity Talks, we are going to explore how creativity can be applied in many areas such as business, career, and life, and how creativity can help us to be better versions of ourselves. To do this, there will be invited guests who could be everyday people or experts who will share with us their journey and discuss topics such as personal development, personal branding, book publishing, mindset, creative process, and many, many more. I thank you for joining me in this journey where creativity and personal growth collide. Enjoy the episode. Hi, and welcome back to our next episode of Creativity Talks with me, Hazriq Idrus. And today we have a very interesting guest because she's actually an author of 2 books, and the third one is coming up. Okay, who is she? She is an Indonesian-born Singaporean writer and translator. Her award-winning short fiction has appeared in literary magazines and anthologies in Singapore, Australia, Japan, Indonesia, the UK, and the US. Very global writer. And Rainbirds, her debut novel, has been published in 11 different languages. Wow. And The Perfect World of Miwako, Sumida, is a second novel, and I understand that she is currently working on her third novel. Very productive. All right, so without much further ado, let's call upon the guest for today, the one and only Clarissa Goenawan. Hello, hi Clarissa. Hello. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. Thanks a lot for having me here.
You're welcome. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be here. How have you been all the while so far?
Well, like you mentioned, I've been busy with my third books that is supposed to come up next year. But like I mentioned just now, because of the pandemic, so sometimes they can get a little bit late or delayed. Depends on how the situation is. But we hope that it's coming out next year.
We're looking forward for your third book. All right, okay. Let's start the whole thing by a little bit of getting to know lah. All right, so you've been writing over the years, and you have 2 novels, The Rainbirds, and the other one is A Perfect World of Miwako, Sumida, right? So
yes,
maybe
correct.
you can share, maybe you can inspire us down here. How do you start on your journey, and what makes you do what you do?
I think for me, actually, being a writer is my childhood dream. I mean, I've loved reading since young, so I'm a huge book lovers. And I think a lot of us, we love to read, and then at the end, we wanted to write books too that we love. But I guess as I grew up, I get more and more realistic. Like, I'm not sure if this author thing is actually financially sound. So actually, I'm pursuing something else. So I did like marketing, and then I did sales and banking. But I think eventually when I was in like my 20s, I started to have a, should I say, quarter life crisis.
What do you call it? Quarter life crisis.
Quarter life.
Quarter life. Oh, no yet me life.
You see, one third life crisis. It's
Okay.
just that I'm actually okay with what I'm doing, but at the same time, I feel like there is something that's missing. I'm okay with my work, but just that there is something there. And at the same time, I decided that I've been working for quite a few years. I had some savings, so I think I can take a break for 1 year and just pursue whatever I want to pursue. And we'll see what it takes. So I just told my boss, like, okay, I'm taking a sabbatical for 1 year, and then after that I started to do writings, which is what I've been trying to. I mean, it's something that I've been wanting to do, but don't really have the courage. But also at the same time, I feel like I think I owe it to myself to try at least once and see whether it works or not. And even if it doesn't work, at least experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
Nice. So that's the missing puzzle that you're working on, right?
Yeah. But so
that
basically,
trying
just
once.
get started with it.
trying once, bonus became two. So two product.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like 1 year just passed and then I continue on and then yeah, now it's becoming my full-time job. So that's how I get stuck to it somehow.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful. All right. So we will go deep into that along the way in this session, all right? All right. So basically, what in store for today's what you call episode, or rather in our creativity talks episode, is all about we're talking about creativity, and then we're going to explore how it can be applied in various work. All right, and is for your case probably on novel writing, and in fact, creativity there's a lot of definitions. And there's a study in the university that in the US, it states that creativity can be applied in at least 7 domains, on entrepreneurship, on problem solving, arts, definitely is one of them. So maybe you want to get your insight. What
Mhm.
is creativity to you?
What is creativity to me?
Mm.
I think it's more like doing things differently, doing something that is not the same as everyone else, like something that is unique to me. That is
Mm.
creativity. I mean, it can be good, it can be bad. Sometimes people can be very creative at, breaking the rules, for example. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. But to me, I guess for me, my understanding of creativity is something that is unique, something that is original, something that is different, something like that.
Ah, nice. And that's how your book came about, right? Something original. In fact, you actually took some time off away from your current situation and start writing. I think that's also looking from different perspective. I think not everybody is can be in your situation, take that opportunity to put aside and focus on what they want. All right, so let's dive inside into your work itself, the Rainbirds and the Perfect World of Miwako Sumida. Maybe you could share with me an overview of each of these two novels.
Right. So both of them are actually three mystery that sets in Japan, and they have like elements of magical realism.
Wow.
And for the Rainbirds, I think the main crux is that there is this young guy whose sister actually got murdered, and the big questions to him is that why did she get murdered? And
Mm.
he thought that she has actually led a very proper life, but obviously something must have gone wrong somewhere. But in the course of the novels, actually, he ended up learning more about himself as well.
Wow.
Whereas for
Okay.
Miwake Sumida, it's the premise is actually always quite similar. It's always like for Miwake Sumida is there's this young girl that everything seems okay, but then after that she committed suicide. So the people around her was like wondering what was wrong, and then they
Wow.
started to piece together, and at the same they learn more about themselves and also more about that girl. So I think for all my works, basically, there's always a lot of secrets, a lot of dark secrets, and a lot of intricacies, and then there's also a lot of like a search of your identity, search of knowing yourself. So I think I'm quite intrigued with the idea that sometimes we may think that we know someone, but actually we don't really know someone. It's not really
Mm.
possible to really get to know someone. But so how far would you go to understand someone, and do you really want to go that far? I think those are the themes that I usually explore, not just in my
Ah.
novels, but also in my other works. Yeah, I think I always
Mm.
like to. There's always some kind of secrets that I always put there.
So what other works that you are currently also be doing?
I think right now I'm mostly concentrating on novel because I feel like that's my first love. Like, I feel
Ah.
like for novels you actually have like the depth, and you can explore a lot of things. You can input in a lot of stuff because you have like 80,000 words to play around with. But
80,000 words. Wow.
yeah, but I mean, before I started working with novels, actually, I was a short story writer and also write flash
Ah.
fictions. I think I wouldn't say that which one is easier because both are different. I think for short story is actually good for experimentations. Like when I want to try something new, like a new genre or a new
Mm.
point of view, or even a new writing style that I'm not too sure whether it works or not, I can try it in a short
Mhm.
story. But
Mm.
if it works, then I can apply the novel. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to experiment too wildly because 80,000 words. Yeah, so I would say that both are complementary. Also, for novel, it's actually like a marathon. It takes you like years. I'm talking about for
Wow.
my first and second book, it took me like 5 years. for my third book, it took me 8 years. So it's a very long thing, and sometimes you feel like
Repeat the number of years again. The first one, how long was it?
first and the second is 5 years.
To
So
write, to complete the book.
for from the first draft all the way to get published at
Wow.
the shops, it took me like 5 years,
Wow,
and
wow,
for the
wow.
third book is 8 years. So I think
Wow.
it's very easy to feel like, oh, I'm doing a lot of things, but I'm not getting anything. So short story is good because they're short and you feel like you actually accomplish something. So you actually have something to show
Ah.
and something to celebrate in between. So I always feel like they're kind of
Ah.
like complementary in a way.
Okay, all right. Okay, just now you mentioned about the 5 years, about the years. I thought that's a wonderful area to look at. Let's dive deeper into this what you call the creative process. All right. So maybe can you share with us with the audience what was, or rather what is your journey, the creative process from maybe you can share either the
Mm,
first one, the first book or the second book, either one. What
right.
was a process from scratch until it's available
Mm.
on shelf?
Like actually there is no one ways to write the novels. This is just what I'm doing, and I'm
Mm.
not too sure if this is the best way because as you see, it took me very long. But some people actually say it's very fast, but
Oh,
I guess it
okay.
depends. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say literary fiction for you is actually quite very fast. But
Ah.
basically, I'm actually the type of person who discover my story as I write about them. So when I started, I sort of have like a beginning, but I don't
Hmm.
really have a right the whole plot. I don't know what this is going to be, so I just write and write and write and
Ah.
discover a story. And I'm the type that write very fast for the first draft. So my first draft usually just took me about like 1 or 2 months.
Wow, that's very fast. And that was
Yeah,
about
and
what,
usually I do
80,000
that in
words.
about 80,000 words. Usually I do it
Wow.
during NaNoWriMo. So NaNoWriMo is in November, whereas people write like 50,000 words in 1 month, which is in November.
Ah,
But
I see.
50,000 words is not a novel. So I mean, for international novels, the standard is usually for adult is about at least, I think the average is about 80,000. So usually it took me like
Ah,
2 months. And then after that, I will put it aside. And then after that, I come back again. And then I start to do the first draft and so the first reading, and then do another editing, the second reading, another
wow,
editing.
wow.
And this is going to be long. It took me about 2 years. Yeah, so 2 months to write the first draft and 2 years to edit it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's just go into the first draft first. 2 months
Right.
to get your first 80,000
Mm-hmm.
plus minus, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What
yeah.
was the process that you wrote that in just 2 months? To me, I think that yeah, to me that's, I mean, I am not novel writer, but to me it's like, wow, that's fast, man.
Yeah, I mean, I do it with the NaNoWriMo. So NaNoWriMo basically every to write 50,000 in 1 month, every day you have to write 1,666. But of course, sometimes
Oh,
Saturday, Sunday, you got something on and you can't write. So usually we try to write like about 2,000 plus because
I
there will be a day that
see.
you will have to skip a bit.
Okay, you
Yes,
mentioned nano, right?
NaNoWriMo.
Okay, it's my
Nas-
first time hearing that. Can you tell us more? Yeah, can you tell us more about it?
So NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. So basically, it's an
Oh,
international thing. So people around the world they go to this NaNoWriMo website and then they committed to write the novels on that month.
I
And it's
see.
an online thing actually, and it's free, so anyone can just register. But the good thing is they have like a country forum, so people kind of like um, there's this camaraderie kind of feel, and then people are cheering each others, and then
Oh,
we write
wow.
in social media like, oh, I completed 20,000 words, 30,000, and there's a lot of celebration. So in a way, it keeps you motivated. And locally in Singapore, last time. When they started the NaNoWriMos, they will have an opening party at the National Library,
Oh,
and then
wow.
they will have
Wow.
a celebration party at National Library. They also have a weekly write-in somewhere in
Ah,
town, something I think Coffee Bean. I mean, I've never joined the weekly, but I joined the party. So there's a lot of
ah,
fun thing there. It kind of keep the momentum, but for me, is I just want to get the story out because if I don't know the story, I won't be able to edit it. And the only way for me to know the story is by writing it. I think there's people who is a plotter, and there is a people that is a pantser. Basically, plotters they know what's the plot, and pantser
mm,
let me just write with no idea, and hopefully it turn out into something.
I
So I'm the
see.
kind that
Okay.
just write and hopefully it turn out into something. So the
Wow.
only
Okay. So
way to know
that
the
that
story is by
what push
writing.
you. True. Makes sense. Makes sense. So only once you write there, we can see how it
Yes,
transpire out, right?
correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that actually pushes you to keep on writing. So is this platform meant only for fiction writing or any kind of books?
I'm not sure, but I think the word is fixed. It does say national novel, but I think in November is for novel. But there is also a smaller time that you can do it for something else, like for
I
editing
see.
and also
Ah.
for your other projects. And I know some other people are using it for something else, but it's quite interactive that the forum have kind of like a graph, so you see your word count going up, and it's actually feel quite
Oh.
short. You
Yes. It's true. It's true. It's true.
like,
Yeah. Some
yeah,
achievements,
it's
some
just like,
milestones, right?
yeah, and they also have a cute little badges, and you can share it on your social media. And some people are
Oh.
doing like sticker posters, and basically it's just try to make it fun.
True.
Yeah, and
Wow.
also
Wow.
it's been on my bucket list. I mean, I've told myself one day I'm going to write a novel. So when I learned about this NaNoWriMo thing, I was like, why not just try to do it now?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's very productive. We can see you have two books out and one book in the works. So like, also wonderful. All right. So let's move on to the next stage. So you had your first stage of the 1 month or 2 months, 80,000 words, and then 2 years for the second draft. Can you
For
tell us more on
the
that?
second,
Yeah.
it's not a second draft. It's a lot of draft. I think
Okay.
for I think for Rainbirds I did like 8 drafts,
Wow.
and that's
Over
excluding
these
the.
2 years.
Yes, because usually I will read it and then I will note down what is wrong and then I change it and then I read it again and then I change it and then at one point of time when I feel quite confident I will show it to some trusted friend and then get their
Oh.
feedback and then after that I will rewrite it again. So basically, yeah, the process can take forever. And as I mentioned, so my third novel actually took me 8 years, so it's not getting shorter. Sometimes the story is just not there yet. You just have to repeat the process over and
Ah.
over.
So,
Yeah.
which means when you're working on your other novels, another novel is also in the work
Yes,
because it's
because
overlapping here and there.
right, correct. So actually, I try to have at least two, either two novel, or if not, I will have one novel and some short story, or sometimes I do translation or these small projects, because I can't be just working on the same novel. I
Mm.
mean, probably I will work on it for about 1 month, and then I have to put it aside because otherwise I will get too familiar with that. I cannot spot my mistake, so I have to work on something else,
Mm.
and then once my mine is quite clear again, then I can go back again and check again what did I do. Then the new mistake will start to pop up because you
Ah.
can just look into it and then you just get used to it. You start to remember your words and your sentence and everything. It's very hard to
True.
spot the
True.
mistake. Mm.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So
Okay. So have the
always have, but not too many. I know a lot. Some people was like having like 10 different novels, but it's never done. So
yeah.
I would say I think for me I feel like maximum of two novels, or if not
So
one novel and some short story, or two novel with some miscellaneous stuff. But I think I
ah.
limited at two, not more
So
than
so
two. I think.
So can I
Yeah.
say that the two novels or one novel in the works there with the short stories, it just keeps your mind working, keep your
Yeah,
creative
basically
thinking moving, right? Yeah,
you just have to change because I can't always look at one. I have to look at
true.
B and then I go back again to A, but not too many. I think I probably have like three pot and most not too much because I have to make sure that I will finish this.
True. Yeah. If not, you
Yeah,
get bored, right? If one thing not done yet and just focus on that, and it's a
right.
marathon, like what you mentioned, right? Marathon. So it's like it seems not ending, and then once you go into that mode, it's like wow, you like feel bored and just put a chuck aside, then we don't continue. Well, it's a good
Yes.
plan actually. Yeah. So if you have a
Mhm.
novel as a main project, then you have the small projects,
Mm,
short writing or
mm,
other the short stories writing
mm.
and stuff, right? Wow,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. All right. So okay. So we have the first part, first draft, and then the multiple drafts, and then what happened after
Okay.
next?
After that, okay, once I'm happy with that, I mean, for my first novel, I don't have an agent, so I look for an agent. But then, I mean,
mm.
subsequently, I already have an agent, so I send it to my agent. And sometimes my
Ah.
agent will
Wow.
give me a feedback, and I have to rewrite it again based on her feedback. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, okay. All right. So we will touch on the agent part on that
Right.
later on. Later part of the interview. All right.
Mhm.
So once you go into that, once you go into the agent, you're going to be almost okay. The first part, since you haven't got the agent yet, right? The first part. So
Yes,
is
yes, yes.
how you get the book out?
Actually, okay, because my book is published overseas. I mean,
Mm.
in Singapore, it's quite easy to go to the publishers. Basically, we can just email them, or actually, they always come to literary festival. It's easy to reach them. Whereas overseas,
Mm.
if you're talking about the big publishers in US and UK, they only accept submission from agented author. I mean, yeah. So
Oh.
unless they sometimes they have like a special open house, but there'll be like thousands of submissions. It's hard to get through. So usually the normal ways is that if you want to publish with the bigger publishers, usually you need to
Mm-hmm.
find an agent first. And I
Ah.
think there's many benefits. It's not just to get the access. I mean, of course, the access is one, especially. I think just now you mentioned that there are books in other language. Maybe US and UK, we
Mm,
still know
mm.
with the publishers. But if we are talking about like Chinese publishers, I don't know anything, and then Hebrew publishers, I don't know anything. So
Ah, I see.
there's this access thing, but also for me actually I'm not really good with the like business part. Like I don't really know what is a fair amounts for the what is a good contract, what is a good
Mm-hmm.
royalty rates, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like having an agents really help me because they know what is a good
Ah.
number and they negotiate everything on my behalf. And it's not my forte, obviously, so it's really good for me. Yeah.
Okay. Since we're talking about agent right now, okay, maybe let's
Mhm.
dive into that question on agent.
Right.
How do you actually get hold of the agent? What was the process?
Okay, so I mean, of course, I can only talk about novel writing. So for novel writing, you need to have a completed manuscript that is really, really strong already. So it's the
Mm.
best you can possibly done, and I mean in general. And then you also need to have a synopsis, and you also
Mm.
need to have a cover letter. So it's quite similar to applying for jobs. So basically, you
Oh,
just
okay.
send a letter to the agents, and it depends on the requirement. Some agent will say, "Oh, I want synopsis in the first 10 pages." Some say maybe, "Oh, I want synopsis and the first three chapters." So just send whatever
Mm.
they ask, and if they like it, they usually reply back to you and say, "Oh, can I read the full manuscripts?" And then if they
Mm.
like it, and then they can offer you the offer of representations.
Ah,
But
okay. So
it's very hard to get an agent. I mean, just be prepared that it's actually really really hard.
so for
I
your
mean,
case,
there'll be like a lot of
what
rejections.
was the experience? So you got the agent for the first book, right?
Yes, yes.
Because you have to go through the agent to go into the publishing house. So how did you go about doing it? How did you get hold of the agent? Who do you contact?
Mm, of course, I mean, if you have a friend who have an agent who can recommend you, it's always nice. But for my case, actually, mostly I just like send a blank emails to the
Wow.
agents. But yeah, I mean, for me, actually, I face a lot of rejections, and I send
Oh.
to really, really a lot of agents. And I mean, sometimes it's because it can't be too personal because basically these agents they receive really, really a lot. I mean, if you Google
Yeah.
the statistic, I think some of those get like hundreds every year, and they only take like one or two clients. So it is really hard, but at the same time, it's hard not to take it personally. I mean, it's
Mm.
like kind of like you're asking someone to go to the prom, and then they say no, and then they say no over and over. It's actually very hard for a writer. I mean, we are very sensitive about our work also. And I think the time zone also, we are in Singapore and they're in US or
Yeah.
UK.
True.
So when we get rejection, actually it's in the morning, and then sometimes we get like two rejection. It's really not a good start,
Start
not a
the
good
day,
start
right?
of the day, right? Yeah. So I think it's important to have a lot of friends who believe in your work. It doesn't have to be a writer, just someone who believes in you and tell you like, no,
Oh,
don't give up. You should
true,
still
true, true, true.
continue.
Yeah. You need to have
And
the
I think
support, eh?
there's what there's support. I think is very important, and I think there's another thing that is good about writing short story is it's actually easier to get published. So at least you have some book
Mm.
out there, so you don't really feel like a failure.
Wow. So how many rejections that you had to go through before you finally get this? Is it the current agent that you have right now?
Yes, it's very hard to talk about rejection because some some agent will write a rejections to you, but some just simply do not reply. And I can tell you the
Oh,
rejection is actually easier than this resounding silence because you don't really know what
true.
they're thinking, right?
At least there's a closure, right? They can move on.
Yeah, it's like there's some of
Oh,
them
this
just
is
don't reply, so it's really hard. But I once heard this. I mean, I'm quite reluctant to say how many because I don't want to like scare people. But at the same time, I also feel like if you really want to be a writer and you want to find an agent, you should have a reality check of what you're going to face,
true. Makes
because
sense.
otherwise
And
you might. Yeah, you might get like an egg rejection, and you think, okay,
yeah.
this is it, but actually it's not. So I once heard this words from my friend that you have done your best to write your novel. You spent 2 years to
Mm.
polish it the best you can. You should do the best on finding an agent too, and you shouldn't give up until you hit 100 query letters. We call it query letters, basically the emails. So
Wow.
what happened was I sent until I actually have 100. And then I was like, oh no, it's already 100. So what do I do now? Should I give up? Actually, what happened was I just stopped counting. So after 100, I stopped counting, and then I just continued to send. I think I got mine after sending about 120, but I wouldn't say it's 120 rejection because a lot of them actually do not
To
respond.
reply, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, eventually I got one offer, and this is where the magical things happen. When you have one offer, actually you can start sending emails to those agents who still have your manuscript and tell them, look, actually somebody is interested in my work. Are you interested also or not? That's where actually the
Ah,
so-called the negotiation start.
nice. So
And
that's
then suddenly,
when you had the upper hand during that
yes,
portion, right? Tell us more,
right,
tell us
yeah,
more. So you were in that situation. So you
yeah.
have to say, hey, come on,
Yeah, so
somebody is need
actually,
me. Do you want me or not?
yeah.
Right?
Well, actually, I think that usually we will give them like 1 week. So it is actually very magical that these people who has been having a manuscript for like months and didn't
Ah,
reply suddenly reply
suddenly.
within 1 day. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, so actually, eventually, I had a few offers, and then I talked
Wow.
to each of them, and then I found out who I feel most comfortable with, and then I signed up with my current agent, which is Bontas. They're based in Barcelona,
Ah,
in Spain. Yeah, so I really
wow.
love their works, and I think I love their philosophy, and I think they get the kind of story that I'm telling. So I feel like we have a great vibe, and yeah, I've been with them for quite long since 2016 until now. Yeah, it's kind of
Wow.
like it's kind of like a marriage. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So currently is match made in heaven, huh? So that leads to
Yeah,
Rainbirds and then the second one
right.
and then going for the
But
third
also at the
one.
same time, some people think that okay, it's so hard to get an agent. So once you get an agent, you will definitely get published. And the answer is no. Actually, after that, there's still
Mm.
another round of rejections, which is when your agent started to submit your manuscript to the publisher. And not everybody who has an agent actually has a publishing deal. Some of them, they actually
Mm.
finish their list, and then the agent was like, "Look, there's no one is taking it." And then, do you have another words? Sometimes they part away
Oh,
with their agent. Sometimes they work on something new. So I mean, I thought that once you get an agent, it's so difficult to get. It feels like getting a unicorn. It feels like, oh,
yeah.
you're secured, but actually, it's not. You still have to get another yes from your editor. So they always say that
Ah,
only one yes is matter, which is from your agent. But actually, we need two yes from the editor
wow,
also,
wow, wow. So the
and
agent is
it's
the
not
first step,
easy.
right? It's a first step
Right,
to
it's the
break
first step.
through that publishing
Yeah,
house. Wow. All
correct.
right. So maybe you can share with us the role that the agent plays between you and the publishing house.
Basically, the agent is represent. I mean, it depends on the agent. Some agent represent the authors in terms of like all their works, but for my agents, it's only for the novel. So like for my short story and for my translation, I'll do my own. So they're only taking my
Mm.
novel, and
Okay.
it's quite straightforward in the industry. So generally, agent will earn like they actually earn commission, so they don't earn
Mm.
any basic pay, or they don't charge anything. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
whatever we earns, they will cut like 15% for the home market and twenty
Mm-hmm.
percent for the overseas market.
I
So this
see.
is quite
Okay.
standard everywhere. Yeah. So basically, the
Mm.
thing is that if you don't sell anything, they also don't earn anything.
True.
So
That's why
it's
they have to
yeah.
push to sell
All right,
for them
correct.
to earn as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so basically they'll try to submit it to the different publishers. Different agents have a different strategy. Some they like to
Mm.
submit to a small pool of editors. Some they like to submit more widely. I mean, I guess when this is the kind of discussions you talk to your agents before you commit to one. You ask them about like what's your submission strategy, like what kind of publishers do you plan to submit it to, and this is when we see like, oh, are we actually at the same length, and do we actually want the same thing? So it's kind of yeah, it's kind of an important conversation actually. Yeah. Yeah, so basically for me, I just trust my agents. I mean, some people, they want their agents to update them all the time, like when there is a reply they
Mm.
want to see anything. But I told my agents, I think I had enough rejection in my whole life. I think you can keep the rejections, just tell me the good news. Yeah, so my agents generally only told me when there is an offer. But I think at the end of the
Ah.
year, they will compile like the submission list, like where do they submit it, and then
Oh, okay.
the date and everything. I mean, different agency they work differently, and I think it depends also on the author. I'm very, I don't know, I feel very hard dealing with rejection, so I always tell them just skip it. I don't want to see them. Yeah, so I think it depends. I mean, the relationship is quite different from agency to agency. Yeah.
I see. Wow. Because it's the first time. In fact, you're the first person I know that actually write and has an agent to represent you. So I think
Right.
that itself caught me like very intriguing. You know, I find it it's very interesting to find out more. Yeah, because I think Singapore don't have that industry of such as much as I know. Maybe there is, but not as
Mhm.
because I heard about this agent authors in overseas, in the UK, US,
Right.
Canada, right? They have agency. Even football players over there, they have their own agent, right? So I see
Right, right.
similarity. Yeah, in Singapore, in this
Yeah.
industry, in Singapore, in
We do
I
have
haven't.
one agency in Singapore actually,
Oh, we
but
do.
I mean, yes, yes, but I don't really know them. I mean,
Mm,
I just forgot the name, but there is one agency that they actually have a branch in Singapore.
I
I think if you're
see.
talking about local Singapore authors that have an agent, that's probably, like you mentioned, it's probably authors that have books that's published overseas, like for example,
Mm,
Bali Kao Jaswal, and then Jing Jing Lee's, and then
mm.
Kristen, and Rachel's, and Charlene Teo. Basically, I think most authors that publish overseas, we have to go through the agent first, so they
Mm.
probably have an
Yeah.
agent.
And
Yeah.
that also makes sense and bring that professional level, right? In terms of writing. So that maintain, I mean, from what I look at, it's also maintain the standard of writing, maintain the standard of the whole industry ecosystem. Yeah, I think that to me that's something new to me. I mean, I heard about it, but something new to hear
Mm.
firsthand from the author yourself, how this whole process. That's why I wanted to find out. That's why this
Mm.
interview to find out more about that angle of it. Thank you for sharing on
Yeah.
that. All right. Okay. So once the author, sorry, the agent has got in,
Mhm.
they have promoted you with the publisher. The next stage is just the publishing process, right?
Yes, and that is another round of editing.
Mm.
Typically, we will have at least one round of structural editing, which is a big picture editing. But sometimes most common is two round, but sometimes can be more rounds. But usually, I mean, based on my experience, usually it's about two rounds of structural
Oh,
editing.
okay.
And then we will start to have like outline editing, and then after that we will have like copywritings and copy editings, and then we will have like proofreading and then galley checking.
Mm.
So this whole process, it will take for, I mean, close to 2 years. Like finalizing the contracts also will take
True.
time first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would
So
be
by
the
the time
publishing
everything is
process.
done, it's like, oh, 5 years has gone.
So that is why Rainbirds, 5 years.
Right, I wrote it
All right.
in 2013 at NaNoWriMo in
Mm.
2013, so it's out in 2018. So that took me five
Wow,
years.
wow.
Yeah.
5 years to get it out in the market. And then another one, 8 years waiting to be out very, very soon. Wow. Wow. I mean, to hear that it's already in the publishing stage, it's it's a good thing already, right? Because it's just next stage to get it out. Like like a baby going to be
But
given birth.
I think I always feel like for as an author, there's not much like so-called like job security. Like for example, just because your first novel get published, there's no guarantee that your next one will get
True.
published.
Yep.
because unless you have a multi-book deals, but for me actually all my book deals is a single book deal. So the second one is
Mm.
still another nerve-wracking process when my editor take it, and then sometimes my editor move to another publishers, and then she probably don't do
Oh,
the same genre anymore, or maybe the publisher is not taking it anymore because maybe they are not doing well, and there's many things that actually is outside our control as an
true.
author, but at the same time it's still affecting us. And I mean, yeah, it's very easy to get obsessed among this, but I always think like as a writer, I think the only things we can do is just continue writing and just do our best,
True.
just do the best works that we can possibly
Yeah.
produce, and hopefully things
Yeah.
work out.
True, true. Yeah, because like for me, I mean the speaking industry. I remember one of my mentors told me that we speakers, what we can do is just focus on speaking and then let those business development people push
Right.
us. You know,
Yeah.
it's very similar. Right? Just focus your art, focus on
Mm,
your area, and then excel
yeah.
in it. And then people will see and they will call you. Yeah, wonderful. All right.
Mm.
So I heard a lot of challenges along the way. Right? Maybe you can share with me maybe your top challenges you face as an author
Top
throughout this whole
challenges.
throughout this process of getting at least one book out. Yeah, what would be your top two or top three challenges? Yeah.
I think that there are different challenges. Like in term of like writing itself, I would say for me the biggest challenges is the editing. I think once it come to a certain stage, it's very hard for me to differentiate where's the right, which one is wrong, because I've been working on it for years, and then everything sort
Mm,
of like becoming so confusing. And then I think also in the beginning of my career, I feel like I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like there's a lot of insecurity also. Like in the
mm,
beginning, when people ask me what's my work, I don't really tell them I'm a writer because I don't know. I just feel like I'm not sure what can you call yourself a writer, and yeah. So
but if your books are out, then I think you are
oh
definitely an
yes, yes,
author.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when your book is out, you feel like sort of less of a pretend person.
True, true, true. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think a lot of times, if people ask me, I just tell them, "Oh, I'm a freelancer," because that's easier to say, a freelance writer. Yeah, I mean, depends on who say it. I think also a lot of people don't really think of writing as a profession. They think about it as a hobby or
Mm.
something that you do on a fun, and you try to tell them, no, it's my full time thing. And some people still ask you, oh, no, but what's your full time job? And it's like, no, this is my full time job.
Especially in
And
Singapore.
there's also, I think, a misconception that, and anyone can just read, can just write. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really see the process, how difficult it is to get it
True.
through. And then sometimes people were saying like, oh, the book is so expensive, and then you feel like, what? I spent 5 years to write this,
Exactly,
and you say it's
exactly. Right?
expensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that too, and then at the same time, I think as a freelancer in general, maybe it's the same for you too. It's very hard to split the time between when it's our work time, because I mean we can work 24 hours, we can work on
Mm.
weekends and public holiday and everything, but
Yep.
we will get burnt out. So you have
True.
to split your
Balance
time
the time.
properly.
Manage.
Yeah,
Yeah. Manage your
correct.
time
And
very
also
well.
take a
Right. Yeah.
break also, because we don't really have a break. And of course, there's when you're unwell, you just have to tell yourself, if you have a proper, you're working in a company, you'll get MC. So you're not well
Correct.
right now.
Correct.
Just take a break. It's very easy to just blend everything, especially when you're in a zone, right? You just want to
Yep.
continue on.
True, and that's one of the what do you call it? One of the element in creativity, right? There's a
Right.
saying that once you're in the zone of in creativity, call it once it's a flow, everything
Right.
will come out, right? But I mean, we cannot be disturbed. Once we disturb, the whole thing go haywire.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to set up a routine, and I mean get used to it and start to see it as this is a job. You need to have a rest, you need to have some recreation also, not just working.
Mm,
And of course, there's also a lot of non-writing things that people don't see. Like we still have to do our tax, we still have to prepare our
true,
documents, which is not really, and all the contracts and everything, which is not really fun.
true. Yeah,
So
that's the
yeah,
admin part.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of non-writing things that we still must do, and I think especially for people who self-publish, they even have to do even more things, because they have
Yep.
to do like marketing, PR,
Yeah.
publicity, everything by
Mhm.
themselves. But I'm lucky that my publisher have this team. But at the
Exactly.
same time, we
Exactly.
also can't just let our publishers do everything. We also have to be, there's a fine balance. You have to be like proactive as a writer, but also at the same time, you don't want to seem like you're trying to do their job. So there's a balance there. But at the same time, we will have to be supportive. Like maybe you talk about in social media and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess the challenge is continues to continue to evolve, especially I think right now with the work from home thing. I'm not sure about you, but actually a lot of people thought that, hey, Clarissa, I mean, you're like an introvert. So you used to work alone. This work from home thing must be easy for you, but actually for me, somehow it's very difficult. I feel like during this pandemic, I've been working long hours, but I don't necessarily producing more things.
True. Sometimes we can be busy but not productive. Huh? That's the
Yes, I think
dangerous part.
there's
Yeah.
that. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of challenges, but I think at the end of the day, it's still what I love to do. It's something that I feel passionate about. So yeah, I still do it, I guess.
That what keeps you
As long
going,
as
yeah?
as long as I'm able to do it. I mean, like I said, there is no job security. I have no idea what will happen to my next book. Will they get picked
Mm.
up? The next one is this going to be the last book I get published? I don't know, but I think I won't think about it for now and just do my best.
All right. So if we were to ask you this question, a day in the life of a novel writer or an author, what would that
Right.
be for you? Yeah.
There's two version of this before pandemic and
Okay.
after pandemic. So
Oh,
I
okay,
think
okay. Share with us for which
so
for both.
actually for before pandemic usually okay, I have a daughter that is in preschool, so I will send her to the preschool and then I will do my writing, and then after that when time for her from preschool back, then I will do it back. But right now because of
Mm.
the pandemic, everybody work from home, so
Mm.
and then we can't really write at certain places like last time we can just go Starbucks for long, but now because there's a limitations and sometimes they
Yep.
have a closing and everything, I've been working from a co-working space. So basically, it's more or less the same.
Ah.
I did try to work from home, but it didn't really work because
Yes.
it's kind of a mess also. And I can't really like differentiate when it's time to work and when it's time to rest. So I get a
Ah.
co-working space and I just go to my co-working space and do my work. And then when I'm home, I'm not doing work.
So that's how you manage the timing,
Yeah,
work
that's how
and
I
life.
try to put like a different space, and I try not to bring my laptop home because once I bring my laptop
Ah.
home, I will be tempted to reply to emails or to
True.
send stuff and
True.
things like
True.
that. So,
Wow.
and sometimes
Wow.
when I feel like okay, it's time for me to take leave, I'll take like 3 or 4 days break. I will just leave my
Ah.
laptop in the locker at co-working space, so that I
Uh-huh.
won't get tempted.
So we mentioned that I remember when we were corresponding to arrange for this interview. You mentioned
Yeah,
I'm on leave, which means that was after your last project, right? So you're on leave
right,
means,
right,
of
right.
course, not taking leave literally, right? Because you're on your own. just
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
just be
yeah.
off away from work, lah. In that sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Basically, I just leave my laptop in a locker and not bringing it back, and just relax for a few days. I try to do
True.
that after I do like a very taxing deadlines. I've been like pulling up a lot of all nighters, try to rest a little bit,
Uh,
because I'm getting old also. I need to start thinking about my health.
True. And your daughter is how old? Because I remember the last time we met, it was at Mencari Crystal event
Right.
that was
Last
back in
time
2016. I
she
think
was
yeah, that
still
was
a
she was very
baby,
little.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, she
because
was a
for the
baby.
viewers how we get to know each other, we were participating in the
Short
Singapore
story
Press holding
competition.
short story
Yeah.
competition. So we had they organized a workshops for all the participants, and that for the top 35, right? So I'm lucky, probably I'm the number 35, and then
No such
then
thing.
and then we meet all the other authors, and Clarissa one of them. And during the session, she brought her daughter. It was a very cute girl. How old is she right now?
She's 5 years old now. Yeah,
Wow,
she's five.
grown
I
up
think
already.
I was actually quite surprised because they told us like a workshop, and I don't know what they're going to tell me. So I decided instead of emailing them and asking, can I bring my baby, I decided to just bring my
Let's
baby
bring.
and see how it goes. But
And the baby
actually,
became popular at the session. Everybody
yeah, the
loves the
people are
baby.
really, really nice. Like because at that time actually I was breastfeeding my baby. I think the first week they wasn't ready, and then the second week they actually created like a nursing room for me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, and they actually were very nice. I mean, especially the ladies. They actually, when I want to eat or when I needed to use the restroom or something, they'll take care of my baby. So yeah,
Wow.
it was really a good time. Yeah, it was really a great time. I think the competitions, I mean, of course, the competition is great and we learn a lot from the workshops, but I would
Yeah,
say that
yeah.
the best thing is the community that we built into it because
True.
it's actually a Malay short story competition
Yeah.
and I don't really have a lot of friends who speak like Malay.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's something new to me to get to know all the Malay writers in Singapore and we still keep in touch in WhatsApp group. It's been
Yep.
like so long.
Yep, yep.
And then
Every
we're
day,
still,
every day, there's always somebody texting some information. We have
yeah.
not met, actually have not met for a number of years, right? But
Yes, yes,
we
yes.
meet currently every day on WhatsApp.
Yeah. So we're still going very strong, and it's very nice also to see how everybody's going through. I mean, some people publish novels, and then some people become a publisher, and then of course there's
Mm,
people that's doing other things like facilitators, speakers, and like you. I mean, it's amazing. I think the community is what makes it perfect.
true, true, true. All right, yeah. Okay, we almost come to our end our program. We have a lot of we have almost all question answered, and I'm really, really excited to hear all these answers. It's something which I never go through. I've heard about it when I read about other authors, and but for me, I'm very fortunate, very honored to have you to hear from you live. You know, to get all these life experiences. Really, really thank you very much. Maybe last two questions for you. All right. So if you to give an advice for those aspiring authors who want to be an author, want to write stories, what are the traits that they need to, or what are the skills they need to build up so that they can be an author? What would you recommend?
If I talk about like what are the criteria, I mean like something that you really needed as an author, I would say you really need to work hard because I mean it sounds simple, work hard, but I think that's really needed. And also at the same time, I think never give up, even though there will be a lot of rejection, no matter what kind of writing you do, even though it's
Hmm.
just a short story, it's not easy. But I think in terms of like how do you build up your skill, I always believe in what I once read at Stephen King book at on writing. If you
Mm.
want to be a writer, you should read a lot and write a lot. And I always believe in that. I think the best way to learn writing is by reading and just read a lot
Mm.
of books, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the more we read, the more info we get, and then that's what we call input, and then we output it by writing, right? Then of
Right.
course, I mean there's I think Malcolm Gladwell she mentioned that to be good in one area, we need to work 10,000 hours in that particular area. So same thing for writing. Once you learn all these things, then once you start writing, of course the first few could be not perfect, could be not the best, but as you go along, will get perfected as we go along. So I think that 10,000 hours work well. And what you have shared earlier on is really about the rejection, about patience, about perseverance. This to me are the elements of creativity, because creativity is really
Mhm.
look at different perspective, isn't it? Which you mentioned earlier on. To look for something, we need to at different occasion. Like let's say if this thing doesn't work, your agent, then you change and find another agent. And I like the angle where you mentioned, okay, now one agent has approached me, do you want to my work? I thought that's a very wonderful angle to look at different perspective. Yeah. So having said that, these are all to me the different elements of creativity. So what would you recommend and advise if we were to develop our creativity or creative thinking? What are the things that we can do from your experience?
The things I can do. Actually, one of the things I last time when I just started writing, one of the things I often do is I try to come up with a theme that's really out, and then put it at a genre, and then try to write out something. And I use it as an exercise. And actually, I have
Oh.
like a little cards with pictures, or sometimes I just point a words at a newspaper, and then see what's the headline, and then I try to come up with a story based on that. That's how that's how I
Oh.
practiced last time. And also at the same time joining a lot of like competition. Sometimes the team is not something you usually write. I think for us the team was like the Bar Cinta, was it? We just like love thriller, and I don't usually write love or thriller. So to me it's something that is challenges you to go outside your comfort zone. And I think yeah, I mean especially if you want to as a writer, I think it's good to challenge yourself and try something new because you never know, maybe you
Mhm.
like it.
Definitely. That's definitely one of the elements of creativity, to challenge yourself, then to move forward, isn't it? Wow, and that's really sums up today's session of the vlog. Thank you very much,
Thank you so
Clarissa,
much.
for sharing. Yeah. So before we go, maybe the audience would like to know how can they keep in touch with you. All right. So can I check
Okay.
with you? Yeah. So these are the, if the audience, if you look into, yeah, down there, the Crawley Facebook page, you can get to Clarissa Goenawan, Instagram Clarissa Goenawan, Twitter
I
Claire. Yeah,
Because
because
that
her
was
name
longer.
longer.
I
Yeah, and
made it, but
website.
I was just started.
Okay. That's okay. Now, but now you have fine tuned to a certain thing, right? And,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I,
then now
I
it's more professional. But the Twitter is something I've been using for long. And that time when I started writing,
uh,
I like Twitter because my family is not on Twitter. And that's
oh,
how I actually get to know other writers and get to know like
through
competitions, things
Twitter.
like that. Yeah, actually, I met a lot of writers to exchange works and things like that through Twitter. So I mean,
Oh.
of course, the name is a little bit like, yeah, at that time was like, oh, all the clear are taken, then just take put 05. But at the same time, I think it's something I've been using for a very long time, and I just gave it as it is. The rest of it, I started to make it once I got an agent, and I feel like need to be a bit more professional.
But I mean, a bit the things working. So anything works, it works. Right?
Yeah, right.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you for sharing. I thought it's wonderful. Yeah. So for the audience, you can keep in touch with Clarissa through the social media handles over here. And once again, thank you for your time to share with us. And we hope that the session is very useful, not just for the audience, but to me as well. That for listening, all your antics, your experiences, and for those out there, who want to be an author, be a writer, listen to what Clarissa said, and if you have any question, feel free to contact her. All right. So before we end, for the audience, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning
And
in.
yeah, any last parting words from Clarissa to the audience.
Nothing else. Yeah. I guess I think for the pandemic, I think maybe a lot of people are having like difficulties like being productive and things like that. I just tell them like don't worry. This is not a normal time, so don't expect to have a normal result and just do your best and
Mm,
hopefully things going to get better for all of us.
all
Yeah, and
right.
of course I
Okay.
hope to see you in real life soon. Yeah,
All right. Okay.
hopefully soon
Thank
and
you. So
safely.
that's a
Thank
good
you so
sum up. All
much.
right. So for the audience out there, thank you very much for tuning in. With that, Hazriq Idrus signing off, and also Clarissa. We hope to see you in the next episode of Creativity Talks. Till then, good evening and see you. Bye bye.
See you.
If you find this video useful, do like, comment, and share so that more people can benefit from this. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, click on the subscribe button below so that you can receive updates of our upcoming videos. Till then, Hazriq Idrus signing off. See you in the next video.